Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sarra Show. Today's episode, I have Minda Pacheco, I think is her last name, because we literally just met. We've known of each other through common friends and common groups and communities. But today we happen to be in the same city in Barcelona together. I heard a lot of amazing things about Minda, so I was like, we're in the same city. This morning I was nudged, like, you're going to meet Minda? Might as well do it on camera.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah, I really do. When you text me that, I felt so honored, and I'm so excited to be here to meet you right now.
Oh,
That's perfect.
I'm excited to meet you. So Minda, my first question is, what are you doing in Barcelona? Is that a loaded question?
It's a loaded question, but I'll give you the cliff notes. How's that?
Okay.
So my husband and I have been traveling for 18 months. We pretty much sold everything we had back in Arizona, kissed our grandkids goodbye, our kids, and we have just been nudged by spirit to just have an adventure in our 50s. So it's a little unconventional, but it also has been just exactly what we needed. And as we've been together for the 18 months, there has been parts of us that have come to the surface that we've realized that are slightly underdeveloped at this stage of the game for us. And so about 3 months ago, I just really felt the energy was moving in the direction of Todd and I being in separate places for 2 to 3 months. I didn't even know how long. I just knew that we needed to spend some time apart, that Todd was really calling and understanding the divine masculine, and that I am calling in this part of me, this divine feminine, that I really want to explore deeper. And so south of France sounded perfect for me, and India sounded perfect for him. And I spent some time in Toulouse, and I realized that a train ride to Barcelona was not that far away. And our coach, Kai Jordan, lives here, just relocated from Bali. And I've been waiting all year to do an in-person intensive with him. And so the last few days have been spent in his home, just immersed in the deep. That's what I want to call it. Immersed in the deep. I feel like we collapsed time. I feel like we did about 10 years of work in 2 days. I felt so seen. I felt so heard. I think I went through a box of Kleenex, at least one. And at the end, I felt so cleansed. You know, I sent him a voice memo right after, and I said, Kai, I feel like I did not know the tears were going to come this soon. But I said, I feel like my life is starting to make sense. That all the things that have led me to this place, this decision where I'm leaving a family and a religion and everything I know back in Arizona, and literally starting from scratch, going into the unknown. It's starting to make sense for me. And it's powerful. There's a powerful energy here. What about you?
Originally, I came to Barcelona for a procedure. I wanted to freeze my eggs. And I didn't think I was going to go there today, but fuck it. I decided that I wanted to freeze my eggs based on more outside influences. I was pretty much fine with the way and pretty content with my life. And then I not gotten pressured, but a lot of ideas were put in my head into, I was like, you should freeze your eggs. And I've been seeing gynecologists for the past 2-3 months, and every cycle was great. Highly fertile. Yes, you should do this. I'm 41, by the way. And so I was like, okay, well, let's go with it. So I found this spot here in Barcelona. What's very interesting is up until this cycle where I was going to actually do it, my body, and when I started the treatment up until the procedure, my body did not produce enough eggs, which was really weird because it had never happened before. So it was also like, okay, well, what am I hearing here? You know, like my body was like, nope, we're not doing this. You're not freezing anything. But everything was already set up for the trip, and Kai is here, so I wanted to see Kai as well. So I did stick to, obviously I canceled the procedure because there's nothing to freeze. But I decided to still come and see Kai, and maybe I was supposed to be here in Barcelona for some other reason outside of that procedure. But I learned a lot about what we go through as women in terms of fertility and carrying kids, and the whole procedure that women are having to go through from that pressure of needing, or the obligation of being a mom. What's really interesting too is a lot of it's a business right now. You know, a lot of women are doing it, but only about 6% of those women actually end up using those eggs.
Really?
Yeah, that's really low.
Fascinating.
I know.
But it's just insurance, like in the back of your mind, in case you want to do it at some point. It probably
exactly
just
what it is.
It lets you put it on a shelf, put it to rest.
Absolutely
Fascinating.
But you go through a lot to do that. You know, there's hormonal injections, and there's a lot of, it's also expensive. There's a lot of medical stuff that you have to go through for that. So it's a costly insurance if you put it that way. Also, like, women do it in their early 30s, but you can only really freeze them for 10 years, right? So if you want to have kids after that, you really can't use them. It's kind of a weird thing. But if you want to have kids within 10 years, then you should be able to just have you without going through the egg freeze.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very interesting journey. But anyway, that's the answer to the question. What are you doing in Barcelona?
Yeah, well, I just think our bodies never lie. I'm so fascinated by the way our bodies respond to things. And so, I mean, I love that your body's like, no, thank you. This isn't going to happen.
You know, what's really interesting too is every time I injected myself with hormones, because I had to do it every night.
Yeah.
I would, this might sound crazy, but I would vibrate them out, like my body, you know, because I'm very in tune to my body, and I would feel them, and I would consciously release that energy. You know, my body would be shaking. I would release it.
Wow.
The doctor was actually like, "You're not taking your hormones." I was like, "I am every night." He's like, "I don't see them in your body. You're not taking them." So I was consciously getting rid of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm in awe of that. Really. That is, we could, I mean, deep dive into that another time.
Yeah. I want to go back to your trip, right? You've been on a trip for 18 months. You mentioned leaving everything behind with your husband and going on this amazing experience. I did it when I was around 30, but it was for 6 months. I know it was a solo trip and it lasted 6 months. But you've been on this journey for 18 months, and you've been on it with your husband and at a different age than mine.
A different age than anyone. We see really young kids and we see really old people. And everyone, when they see us and figure out how old we are, they're like, are you retired? Like, they don't really know what to say to us. It's kind of funny. We don't even really know. We just say we're on an adventure. An adventure is, you don't know how it's going to end.
What has been the most fascinating discovery within yourself, or the most recent? Because I know when you're on this journey, right? You uncover so many things all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I had an insight 2 months ago, but it seems like 5 years ago, right? Because you said you collapse time.
You want to know what's present this morning?
Yeah.
I do. I tune in every single morning. And so every day is a new day and a new awareness, a new awakening, a new understanding. And I was just up the mountain and I got to see one of the Black Madonnas. It's a really famous landmark here and really, really meaningful. She represents the dark side of the Virgin Mary, the shadow side. And, you know, the Virgin Mary is usually portrayed with light skin, a white robe, a blue sash. And so this Black Madonna is very mysterious, and everybody has their own ideas of how she came to be, why she's there. And so I had this rare opportunity to take a train up the mountain and sit in the presence. And I sat there and I definitely had an activation. It's a very active vortex up there. And one of the things that came to me is that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, that this path is exactly what is intended for me, my higher self, my higher purpose. It was deeply rooted. I grew another root in that knowingness, and also a knowingness that I'm playing the long game, that people don't understand. They're not going to understand. The people that my family, I come from a family of 9.
9 kids?
9 people, 7 kids. I'm the second oldest of 7 kids. And my family's been doing things the same way for a very long time, for many, many generations. And my friends, a lot of them don't understand what I'm doing. And my children don't understand necessarily what we're doing, what I'm doing. And I had this realization that I am playing a long game, that when you're somebody that goes first in any situation, building a business, leaving anything that seems familiar, being the first to say, you know what, I want to make $1 million, or I don't actually want to stay married after 20 years. When you're the one who goes first, it's a long, lonely road most of the time.
And they think you're crazy, right?
And they think you're crazy.
Just because it hasn't been done before.
Yeah. And when you're someone like me who is so motivated to fill my life's purpose here, it doesn't matter. Yes, there are lots of tears. Yes, there are times when I question slightly. Yes, there is anxiety. Yes, there is uncertainty and unpredictability. But I tune back into my higher knowingness and I realize I'm playing the long game, and that I had this knowingness, and it's hard to describe because it's a download. It's a stream of consciousness. It's an awareness that this world is shifting in ways that we cannot understand right now. We can't even fathom it. Just like we couldn't fathom that a virus was going to attack the entire world. That this world is shifting in ways that are going to surprise us and delight us, and that many people are going to follow the same pattern, leaving things that are familiar, leaving a family, leaving a religion, leaving things that have been done the same way for many, many, many generations, and that I am going first. I get to go first.
Does that feel like a lot of pressure?
It feels like a privilege.
That's a beautiful way to see it.
It feels like a privilege. It feels like somehow, somewhere, God has trusted me enough. And I use that term, source, universe. I use it all simultaneously. There's enough trust in me and knowingness that I am made for this, that I can handle it, that nothing's too much for me. And I've been pushed to my edge many times. Many, many times. And every single time I am met with grace, I'm held, I'm supported. People, places, money, things come into my life exactly when I need them. Before I even know I need them, they show up. And it is such a miraculous to live. It's scary as hell sometimes. But the benefits and the rewards are, it's like I'm living in a magical, enchanted land.
Talk to me about, because you had a whole different life before this, right? You were living, I mean, I might call it the American dream, right? You had to a garage house, right? A regular job. You were in Phoenix, Arizona. You come from a large family. You were doing regular people things.
Or just normal people stuff. Right. Going to Trader Joe's every Monday, Costco on Thursday, right? Doing the carpool, the whole thing. Yeah.
You have 2, 3 kids.
I have 2 kids.
And then one day you're traveling around the world. You leave the church, right? You leave everything behind. You know, it's been 18 months too.
Yeah.
And you're traveling around the world. Do you remember who you used to be or what you used to be like? Because those are a lot of years, right? Those like over 40 years.
Yep, 48. I have a remembrance of that version of myself. I have so much compassion and love for that version of myself. And that version of myself is dead. I have had to have 1,000 funerals along the way of myself, literally, because that is what is required when you're, I just see this image of me blazing trails. That's what I see. Going down paths that have not been chartered before. I'm the one that's like going up in the bushes instead of on the trails that most people are trying to get to the top of the mountain. I'm like, what about this bush? I love that version of me so much. And yet I felt like I was dying inside a little bit. I knew there was more. I knew there was more in my marriage. I kept trying to sell Todd this idea like, babe, it could be so much better. What about this? I would read books about these marriages that were passionate and deeply loving and intimate. And when you've been married for 30 years, in my awareness, what I've observed is the love can be there, but the passion dies. You just become coexisting a lot of times. You love each other. You've established a home and children, and maybe you've retired and whatever's happening at that point in your life, but there's no passion. There's no waking up every morning and saying, what do we want to do today? Like, how do we want to blow our own minds? Right? Like, what do we want to create? And I knew that was possible. And I knew that it was possible for me. And I had to sell Todd on the idea many times. But I am in the business of living an extraordinary life. Not just a okay life, not just a fine life, not just a good life. I want an extraordinary life. And the version of me before had a good life. I cannot complain. I had a really, really good life. But I just knew inside of me, like, there's more. There is so much more. And there's more for everyone. We just have to be willing to step out on the edge.
What is more? Like, what do you define by more? You say I had a good life, living in the States, having everything I need. You can just go and get another job, right? And afford your lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's easy to find a job and make a living in the US, right? Compared to, you've been to a lot of countries in the past 18 months. So
absolutely.
It's a lot harder in other countries, yeah. But in the US, you can always start again, right? So when you say there's more, what is more?
It's funny. I've had so many side hustles. I was in the interior design business for a long time, and I also worked around my kids' schedules. So I never went like hardcore into business, but I've started 20 businesses. I've always been like an entrepreneur at heart. So that never filled me up, obviously. One day I was going through my drawers, cleaning things out, and I literally found like 10 different business cards that were all mine. And so there was just always this, not it. That's not it. And I didn't even really know, but it's just something like a yearning inside of your soul that there's deeper relationships. There's more to explore about yourself. There's more to explore about your relationships with other people and your partner. Like, I knew there was more in my marriage. There had to be more in my marriage. Okay, you said nothing's off limits. In an Orthodox religion, there is a lot of shame around sexuality from a very young age. And I'm putting a blanket statement on that. I guess I will just talk about my experience. In my experience in an Orthodox religion, and everyone else I know in one, there is a lot of shame around our bodies and sexuality. And
for both men or women, or just
both?
Women?
Yes, both. And modesty. I mean, even down to like For 27 years, I wore garments, the Mormon garments, which is underneath your clothes. You wear, basically, it looks like a t-shirt, but it covers your arms or your shoulders, and they go down to your knees. And I got married at a week before I was 20, and that's when you get the garment, and you wear them until you die. And I didn't even know there was another way. It's just the way I was raised, the way things had always been done for generations. And I had an awakening, a massive spiritual awakening. And I realized I am being run by control and fear. My life is being run by control and fear.
When did you have that awakening?
I know there was a pinpoint moment.
What do you mean, like a long time ago, right?
No.
No?
No, it was recent.
Oh, it was recent?
Yeah, it was recent. It was when I decided that I was going to step away from the church.
The church, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's my own personal experience. I actually grew up in a home that was very controlling, that was very fearful. There was no separation between the church and my family. And so I had this realization that it's time to step out of that paradigm. It's time for me to really start thinking for myself. It's time for me to surrender to something so much bigger. And I didn't even know what that was, but I knew there was something. And so I realized if I was going to remove the fear and control in my life, then it was really easy. It was really easy actually for me to say the church, some friendships, the underwear, there were just, it was just an easy line. And then you start asking some questions and you start diving deeper into just the things that don't serve you anymore on every level. And it was really an unpacking that was very brutal, very painful. It lasted about 3 years. I went on it solo at first, and then I told my husband Todd about it. And again, very edgy, very scary.
That must be very scary because it's a community that you live in, right? It's not just, because I've seen this happen like with the Orthodox Jews as well. So you leave a whole community behind. It can get pretty lonely. There's the isolation that happens.
Yeah.
There's that sense of belonging, right? They're like, where do you belong now?
When I said nothing's off limits, I think what I knew there was more of is more deep, passionate, just going down into the well of understanding intimacy with myself and with my husband. I realized that we'd been having polite sex for a long time. And it's not good and it's not bad.
It's one way to put it, polite sex.
But you know what I mean? In a way, I think I'm painting a picture. I have always loved him, and we've always had a fine relationship, but I knew there was more. And so I'm on this trajectory of incredible, empowering, mind-blowing sex. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Yeah. So when you say, what did you know there was more of? That, and then that comes with, once you awaken to that, and women typically have a spiritual awakening and it's synonymous with a sexual awakening. It happens hand in hand. And so all of this that's now blossoming and coming forward, and I'm understanding more about who I am as a woman and what I'm capable of, in the creation energy that I possess and the power that I hold. And it's like a whole new world is opened up to me and to us.
What is this thing, because I have a lot of beliefs or maybe wild beliefs around women's sexuality. There is this, I believe that we've suppressed our sexuality because it doesn't serve the other gender for us to be wild and free, I'm going to call it. But on the other hand, I find that women really benefit from sex, right? I mean, we're the ones who get filled up. It energizes us. We can orgasm multiple times. We can orgasm multiple ways. we can do amazing things with our body
Mm-hmm.
in many different ways, but we're talking about sex here, right? Men, on the other hand, get emptied up and they're pretty exhausted after that. It depletes them, right? But it fills us up. However, we've been told to believe otherwise, that sex is not good for us. And we need to be virgins and be careful and not even think about, there are a lot of women who don't even know what an orgasm is, right? And it's such a shame, because the way I think that the way we experience sexuality is so wide and wild and incredible compared to men.
Yeah, I think sex is made for women.
You said it.
We have 60% more nerve endings. And we also, like you said, have the ability to orgasm multiple times. Actually, men do too. And I feel like when men and women can work together, when we can, and I want to say the word Tantra, and I use it very loosely because Tantra has gotten way misinterpreted. But true Tantra is life force energy. That's what it is. It's been practiced for thousands and thousands of years. They used to teach young boys what it is, right? Pouring all of their energy into the woman. And then the woman is so filled up that she pours her energy back into the man. And it's just this circle of energy. It's what it is. It's energy. Words don't need to be expressed. Like, it's all about energy. And that's what Todd and I are calling in. We're deep diving into understanding energetic sex and energetic connection and monogamy and devotion. And there's no well, you can't hit the bottom of the well when you really go to the depths of it. And you can be with the same partner, if you choose that, for decades and have a new experience every single time when you really understand the creation power and the energy that we possess in our bodies. And I love the idea of men and women working together in this. It's this symbiotic relationship that we have. And I'm trying to decide how I'm going to say this.
This is a very uncensored episode. Like I said, we just met today, so you guys are meeting us as we meet.
You can cut this out. I
don't want to cut this out. I think this is the best part. Why would I cut this out?
I don't know, because, I mean, I'll just tell you what this is what's present for me. After Todd and I left religion, he got in the motorcycle accident. No. This was three days before he got in the accident. We did our first plant medicine ceremony. And this is right as I'm having my sexual awakening. And it's this, this 5-hour event. And at one point we started together, and then the shaman took Todd into his own room because he wanted to chat too much. He was just really getting chatty. And I'm like, I want to go in. I want to go deep. So she's like, come with me, Todd. And about an hour later, he's like, I got to go talk to Minda. She's like, I'm pretty sure you guys need to be separated right now. She's going in. No, I need to talk to her right now. Okay, let me go see if she's okay with it. I said, he can come in for 10 minutes. So he comes in and he lays down next to me, goes, Minda, your yoni literally just appeared in front of my face, this big, and opened up and started talking to me. And her name is Sasha. I had given my yoni this name, and I was having him try to guess. Literally, it opened up and communicated that information to him. And since then, he has literally had such a reverence and respect for the creation energy that I possess. It's like, I wish every man could experience him meeting my yoni in that powerful way, opening up and talking to him. Like, you literally can't make this up. I saw the shift and the change and the reverence that he now has, and it's powerful. I understand it as well. Like, as women, when we tap into our power and our creation energy, there's nothing off limits for us. Nothing off limits. when we understand that part of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's a very powerful energy that I think has been suppressed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not, just to clarify, this is not around, for me at least, the feminist movement or men against
No.
women or women against men or
Mm-mm.
anything like that. Quite the opposite. It's more of
Agreed.
both together.
Yep.
And both creating something together, but allowing us to coexist.
Absolutely.
And allowing us to do it from our own energy. I feel like there was this movement and women got up, but then they got up and stepped into the masculine energy to try and do it from their space, to try and fit in, which I completely understand. But I think now it's time for us to do it from our own place, like follow our own cycle, our own energy. We no longer have to fit in. We can coexist and create our own world. We can do business from our feminine energy. We can follow our cycle and create our own thing. So thank you for sharing that beautiful experience.
Like I said, you can edit it if you need to.
No, I'll keep it. Where do you go from here, I guess?
Where do we go from here? So in about 2 months, Todd and I will... Did I talk about how we're in different places?
I don't think so. I think you told me when we were outside.
Okay. So I had this knowingness about 3 months ago that Todd and I needed to be on our own, do a solo pilgrimage. And mostly for us to recognize parts of us that are underdeveloped because we've been conforming for so long. And also really being able to explore our masculine and feminine and our sovereignty. When you're together with someone so long, you can actually start looking like someone. And the way other people do things is not a problem. I have no problem with people and the way they want to create their own relationships. But for us, it just seemed obvious to spend some time apart. And I didn't know how much time. I didn't know really any of the details. I just knew that that's what was being called in. And as I tuned into that even deeper, I felt the south of France was the perfect place for me. I felt like India was the perfect place for Todd, which he got that download on his own too. So that was amazing. We decided it was going to be around 2.5 months and that we were going to create an intentional separation that would enable us to break patterns that are not serving us. There are attachment styles that have been playing a role big time in our relationship. I'm very avoidant and he's very anxious. And those have been just like coming up and butting up against each other for a long, long time. And so being apart just felt really, it felt necessary. And during this time, it's only been 2 weeks and I felt so held. I felt so led and guided. I have never been in a foreign country by myself where I don't speak the language and I don't know what I'm doing next. I know pretty much like what I'm going to do maybe the next week. And then after that, I just let spirit lead me and Todd as well. And so my hope, and I don't have any expectations. That's the beautiful thing about this. I've let go of my agenda and what I think I want, completely let go of that in my life. And my hope is that we will come back together and create a brand new relationship. We'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary in January. And I have this vision of us intentionally starting over, like letting all the old patterns die, letting all of the ways that things have been done for so long, letting that go and creating something that's so sacred and so unique and so special to us, and walking into the second act of our lives together. I think we'll have, I know we'll have some kind of renewal ceremony We'll probably do it with Kai and Gabriella here in Barcelona. Todd will come do an intensive here and I'll meet him here. I think this is kind of where the energy is going right now. But it's not going to be the same anymore. It's of course we're the same people, and of course it's not just going to magically fix everything. I do have an awareness of that. But I think that this is for sure the beginning of something really special. And we're calling in a beautiful property somewhere in Europe, a space where we can share our natural gifts and talents with people who are going to come and be blessed at our sanctuary in every single way. It's going to be 5 stars, 5 senses. All the food will be grown on our property. There will be beautiful animals and landscape. And I know what it's going to look like down to the linens on the table.
You're not going back to the US.
I don't think so. If we can create this in the US, but Europe just feels so aligned. It's so ancient and wise and so healing and so green. We're from Arizona. It's so green. And it feels, our ancestors are from here. I have a lot of ancestors from England, and Todd is Danish. And it feels like we're complete with Arizona. Just feels complete. And it feels like a brand new chapter is starting.
Yeah, I've left Miami back in May for what was supposed to be a 2-week break.
Yeah.
I think it's been more than 20 weeks now.
Yeah.
What are we, October?
I know I've seen you buzzing all over. I'm like, fun. Where in the world is Sarah?
Right? Just one thing leading to the other and just following the flow.
And why not?
Yeah, why not? It's been really interesting to lose that control or that need for certainty. I'm going to admit there are times where I totally freak out. Like, oh my God, what am I doing? Or I need to go back home.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been this long.
Yeah.
It feels like a long time ago. But when I look back, it feels right and aligned,
Yeah.
And just,
I do.
Right? Embracing the uncertainty has been really challenging and rewarding at the same time.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, there's never any security to begin with.
Exactly. It's all a facade. Yeah. It's all made up. And, Sarah, I think that you and we just met, but I believe we're cut out of the same cloth in the way that we're here to play a big game. We're not here to do the conventional. We're not here to be people pleasers. We're here to carve our own path, our unique path, put our own unique stamp into this world. And I just have this vision of me being really old with white hair, sitting on a porch in a rocking chair with my husband, knowing that I lived the most brilliant, rich, full, intense, unbelievable life that I could have ever lived. And there's nothing left. I played full out. And I feel like it's a unique privilege and a pleasure to be able to walk this path with people like you, because when we can come across people like this in our lives, we can let that part of our brain rest. That part of our brain that says, what the fuck are you doing? You need to be responsible. You need to have a savings account. You probably have one. You need to do things. You need to be smart. But the more I let go, surrender, tune into spirit, have an understanding and a knowingness that this is my own unique path and that it's not going to look like anyone else's. And the more I can get excited about that, I mean, it's exciting to live a life like this, to not know where you're going to be in a month, not have any idea. It's like I wake up every morning and I just think, what do I get to do today? What do I want to do today?
What do I want to do today?
Right? Who do I want to talk to? What kinds of experiences do I want to have?
Yeah.
It's miraculous.
You know, on my last birthday a few months ago, I was in Spain, in Marbella. So the day of my birthday, for the first time, I woke up and I asked myself, what do I want to do today? You know, and I realized prior to that, I would wake up on my birthday and almost like test people. Who's going to call me? Who's going to ignore me? Who's going to do something for me? Who's going to make this day special for me? Right? Like as if it's not my
It's your
responsibility. As if
responsibility.
it's not my responsibility.
Mhm.
And I would just deep inside of me sit in this corner and wait, right? And I would already be resentful, right? It's the beginning.
You better call me.
Right, you better call. It's the beginning of the day and I'm already mad because I'm anticipating that nobody did enough things for me. Because regardless, no matter how much they do, it wasn't going to be
Not enough.
right? And
Oh, it's so good.
it was such an epiphany as to, wow, where's your responsibility on you giving yourself a great birthday? And then I was like, and where's your responsibility on you giving yourself a great life? Not just today, but every day.
Mhm.
You can ask, what do I want today?
Mhm.
And listen in
Yep.
and find a way to give that to yourself because it's no one else's responsibility.
I love it.
And it was the little Sarah inside of me who was sitting in a corner waiting to be saved or rescued or made feel special or unique or
wanted your mom to throw you a birthday party with ponies.
Right.
That's how it came up.
She was also relieved because her and I understood that from now on, I got you. You know, I got you, Sarah. I'm not no one. We don't need to wait here and wait for someone else to come and do this. Like, I can do this for you every day. You're talking about what do I want, and it reminded me of that. And I've shared this story with so many people, and it just awakens this deep sense of responsibility that we have towards ourselves, but not a responsibility from a place of like that heaviness, you know, because we think of responsibility as something big or heavy or too much or not capable of. But I think of responsibility now as a beautiful thing. It's empowering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Taking ownership of our lives because we literally have the power and the capacity and the resources to make it whatever we want. We really do. The only thing that I've realized, the only thing that stops us from having what we want is not being willing to feel what comes up along the way. If we're literally willing to feel anything that comes up along the way and we get actually really good at it, there's nothing off limits because we're not actually afraid of that thing. We're not afraid of failing. We're not afraid of dying. We're not afraid of losing money. We're afraid of what it's going to feel like when we think that's going to happen. And so we can just get really, really good at feeling that. We can actually make it our superpower, and then literally nothing is off limits.
Yeah, definitely. This is something I learned from Steve Hardison, being available to yourself or being available to whatever is showing up so you can just move through you. And I had to learn that because I think what we do is we disassociate, you know. I was really good at disassociating and escapism, right? I would distract myself or escape or just not associate, like leave my body because I don't want to feel that. You know, it's a mechanism I learned at a very young age. And I think it's what we all learn because we don't want to feel. Sometimes it's a protection mechanism. And maybe at times it was the right thing to do. Maybe it was too much as a child, or sometimes the events are too strong or too much to sit there and feel it. But then it becomes a pattern, right? It becomes the default or what we go to. As soon as something is hard or uncomfortable, okay, what is that? Check out, right? Like, go somewhere else, not being present. That's why it comes down. It always comes down to being present and feeling. Kai and I were talking this morning about being a vessel. and just allowing that to be felt. And I was like, but I feel used. And he's like, okay, we'll be with that now. Typical guy. Fashion.
Yep.
But yeah, you're definitely, if we're able to feel anything, experiences become just that, experiences.
Yeah. One of the things that has been so useful for me is actually carving out time to feel things, because we get so busy, and busy is the biggest distraction in the world. People think that their worth, right? If I'm busy, if I'm always doing something, if I've got my schedule, from sun up to sundown, then it makes me feel like I'm doing something, I'm accomplishing something. But the reality is we have to make space to be able to feel. Sometimes it takes me 2 hours to work through something. And if I don't have that space to do that, then it just gets pushed down. And so one of the things that I've really loved to do is just take a walk. If I can walk through the forest actually has so many healing energies and vibrations. And if you can just walk through the forest or anything that's green, it will just start coming up for you. It just will start working its way into your awareness, and you can start being with whatever's there to process. And I do that as much as possible. And it's really easy to do here in Europe.
When I was in Asia, and I did a lot of meditation with a lot of monks. And we would sit for hours, because I was doing temple stays, and we would sit for hours and hours and hours. And a lot of things came up for me, and I felt a lot of things. And then what I've been trying to do recently is contemplation, which is throughout any day, throughout any moment, I can take 3 seconds. How is it feeling now? And I immediately feel the vibration, I don't need to understand it. I don't know what the sensation is or the feeling. I don't, one of my winning formulas, I need to understand everything because I'm smart. But that comes in the way of feeling.
Yeah.
So and now that I don't need to understand it, and then it just flows through me. And it can literally, with so much practice, then it becomes less time. But when I do take those walks, or those longer times to sit or make that time to feel, deeper things do show up for sure.
Yeah. And really the processing can become as easy as breathing. It really can. When we get used to, like, I eat breakfast, I take a shower, I process what's going on in my body.
Right.
Right? It's just something we do. We clean. We're constantly cleaning the vessel. We're forgiving. We're seeing what's showing up. And that's how we can move through the world, like, with a lot less anxiety, a lot less pressure, a lot less stress. I think that's one of the biggest challenges with people, is they just are stuffing things down so much, and then it has to come up somehow. It has to.
Definitely.
So
it was so nice having you here. I feel like we could talk forever. We're going to take this conversation off camera. But thank you for being here today. Thank you for saying yes on such short notice.
It's such a pleasure.
Is there anything else you would like? And shout out to Judy, our friend back in Phoenix. In Arizona. Love you, Judy.
So much.
Yes.
I love her so much.
I hope to see you soon. And anything else you would like to add?
Let me see what's present. Even though this is the first time that we've met, I feel like you are walking through this world with so much consciousness and so much awareness. And that ripple effect is, you will never understand it. And I know you said that you don't know exactly why you're doing this podcast, but as this hour has progressed, I will tell you that one of the biggest reasons is because you're willing to show up, you're willing to serve with your whole heart, you're willing to be on this journey authentically, lovingly, and it is like, there's no way to quantify what that is going to do and what that is doing in this world. So I feel really blessed to be able to be walking side by side with you in this journey.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing. I'm deeply moved by your words. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. Let's take a moment to reflect on the power of purpose. Sefamar, a leader in assembling vehicles in Morocco, builds more than machines. They create the essential vehicles that move us forward, connecting people, building cities, and enabling progress. Just as their trucks and buses carry people and materials, bringing to life a vision of growth and development, we too are vehicles, carriers of ideas, dreams, and deeper truths. At the Sarra Show, we embrace what it means to be human and to serve a purpose beyond ourselves. When we surrender to that purpose, we unlock our true potential. Sefamar's vehicles connect communities. We, in turn, connect hearts and minds. Thank you for joining us in this shared journey of creation and connection. Together, we are all vehicles for something greater.